everybody, it's Stewart A. Swerdlow.
And Janet Swerdlow.
And this is the first week in March 2014 and the Expansions News Podcast.
You would never know that with all the snow outside.
Well, I was just about to say, would you stop reading my script?
They like that sunshine on our soul today, so.
Well,
or sunshine on our snow.
It's snow flurrying out, but anyway, yes, it's less than 3 weeks to spring, and you would never know it. You know, like it's so cold out, more snow last night, more snow coming. And those of you who live in the Great Lakes area and upper Midwest, I have bad news for you because they announced this week that we are going to have an extremely cold spring with snow and cold continuing through April.
Is that bad news?
Well, if you like to grow things, it is. Or if you like to, run around naked like you, it's not a good thing. And they said, this is the worst part, but you won't like it. The summer was going to be very cold because the Great Lakes are so frozen, such thick ice, that it will take a very long time for it to melt. And even when it does, the water will stay so cold that even when warm air comes up from the south and blows over us, the cold lake water will just modify it and make it cold.
I'm okay with that.
So, you're okay? You like hot?
Oh, you know what? I really enjoyed the summer in Iceland, so.
There was no summer in Iceland.
Right, and I liked it. I was surprised. So maybe I like different kinds of climates than I thought.
Well, then you like the summer in Svalbard.
Yeah.
Freezing in the morning and then.
I did like that.
Yeah, well, that's what you're going to get.
I might get that.
All right. So, just as a follow-up to the last podcast that I spoke about Russia and Ukraine.
That's not a follow-up. That's same people. I called it right.
Yeah, I hate to say I told you
so. No, don't
so.
say I hate to tell you.
Okay.
I did it correctly.
I said it correctly because I told you that Russia was going to invade Ukraine after the Olympics were over. Oh, hello, look what's going on. But they're very smart. My peeps, they're my peeps, you know.
I know.
Because what they did was say that the people in Crimea and eastern Ukraine are Russian-speaking, not Ukrainian-speaking. And so they just extended them Russian citizenship. And so they're Russians. Hello.
It's Russian now.
Yeah.
So everything you said came true.
Everything is, unfortunately, but
well, that's
so now I'm going to just make another prediction here, and I'm going to tell you to keep your eyes on Morocco, Jordan, and Indonesia, because these three countries, which have remained relatively quiet as far as uprisings and springtime, whatever they call it, Arab Springs and Muslim Springs, whatever it is going on, they're going to have their issues coming up very shortly. And here's something very interesting. You like 007 Sean Connery from the 60s and 70s? Well, he's Scottish. He doesn't live there anymore. But Scotland, this September, is voting on independence. And Sean Connery, 007, said, yes, you should vote for independence. Take the chance while you can get it. I tend to agree with him.
But the 007 is a big trigger, remember, on the Queen's birthday.
Yes, I do remember
So there's a lot of stuff going on with this 007.
I wonder how the Queen is doing. I think they don't tell us, like she needs to have like someone help her go to the bathroom and all that. I bet that's what happens with the Queen.
No, that's not what happens. No, the Queen is
I
very...
need help to get to the throne. But she didn't say which throne. Yes.
I think you better stick to your script.
Yeah, well...
Don't give up your day job.
I'm not amused. Anyway, speaking of crowns and kings and things like this, and look, people, on this podcast I don't have really links because all this stuff was sent to me from elsewhere. But a very interesting bit of information that I received about Jesus.
Emmanuel.
Yeah, Emmanuel, that he was a shapeshifter. But let me explain. Apparently, they recently went through the ruins of an Egyptian monastery of St. Michael, and they found a 1,200-year-old Coptic text. Now, the Coptics were the original Christians, and that's why Coptic Christianity is found in Egypt and Ethiopia, and they really believe in the very ancient way like the Waldensian people. They're very similar to that. They're just the African version of that. And according to this Coptic text that was found and translated, it's one of the rarest found, it says that Jesus had the ability to change his appearance and even become completely invisible. Now here's something you're going to find interesting also. The text goes on to explain that Jesus had the ability to change his appearance. The only way they could identify him, he was apparently hanging out with Judas. Judas said the only way he could identify which one was really Jesus is by kissing him. I guess Jesus had a special kiss, and that implies a whole other bunch of stuff here. I told you about Jesus had this thing with St. Peter, and that's why he didn't like Mary Magdalene. The whole thing that going on here. Now let me read you a direct translation from part of the Coptic text, and it says, and I quote, "Then the Jews said to Judas, 'How shall we arrest him, Jesus? For he does not have a single shape, but his appearance changes. Sometimes he's ruddy, sometimes he's white, sometimes he's red, sometimes he's wheat-colored, sometimes he's pallid like ascetics, sometimes he is a youth, and sometimes an old man.'" Boy, that Jesus had it all going on, didn't he? It also said that Pontius Pilate gave Jesus a chance to escape from prison by actually using his own son to exchange. So I guess the son looked like him a little bit. But Jesus refused, because Jesus showed him how he could easily escape anytime he wanted to, and prove that he became incorporeal in front of the flabbergasted Roman prefect. And of course, this article comes with a little picture of Raptor Jesus. See? Raptor Jesus. There you go. Well, sorry if you Christians are offended, but...
No, you're not sorry.
You're right, I'm not. Well, let's go on to other things. Since we're in space, this is not a big deal, but just this week, NASA announced last Wednesday actually that they found 715 new planets, the biggest batch that they've ever discovered at once. But if you add up 715, 7 plus 1 plus 5 is 13. So there's a trigger there. And only 4 of those hundreds of planets are in what they call the habitable zone, which means they could potentially support life. And they are around 305 different stars, and they were all discovered by the Kepler Space Telescope. 95% of the planets discovered are smaller than Neptune, which is still 4 times bigger than the Earth. And one of them is twice the size of the Earth and orbits a star half the size of the Earth's sun. Can we talk about some Nazis now? I want to talk about some Nazis. Well, actually, before we do that, let's go back to the Jews.
Well, those are kind of interrelated, aren't they?
Well, you'll see why in a moment.
I also had some interesting Nazi news, but let's hear yours first.
Anyway, I want you to keep in mind, keep in mind that this is perhaps a precursor to New World religion. Remember I said all religions are going to blend in together? And also, I want you to remember, I think it was like 3 or 4 years, when was I in Finland? And
it's been a few years.
That TV show there. Anyway, when I was in Finland, I read a magazine that showed, and I've written about this over the years, neo-Nazi groups in Europe who actually went to Israel to visit the Israelis because they wanted to be friends, because they had a common enemy in the Muslims. So here we had, even back then, the Nazis and the Jews kind of becoming friends with each other. So now we have in Germany the first government-backed school of Jewish theology.
Backed by the government of Germany.
Yes. It's the new school at the University of Potsdam. It's the first time Jewish theology has been taught at a public university in Europe, and the first time Germany has funded the training of rabbis and cantors. Now here's what's even more interesting. The German government hopes that the lessons will reach far beyond Judaism to tolerance for all religions. The school director is named Admiel Kazman. He's an Israeli of Iraqi and German Jewish origins. who describes himself as very religious and influenced by Buddhism and Hinduism.
It sounds like a melding of something, doesn't it?
Yes, and he says he encourages dialogue and train rabbis to serve more than just Jews. And a quote from him, "We are training rabbis for the whole society, not just for the Jewish community." And he says they'll have 6 new professorships. They've already enrolled 49 students from Germany, Israel, Eastern Europe, and the US. And he says, now this is the very interesting part, "We teach our rabbis to know the Quran and the New Testament." Now,
so this school is only to train rabbis. And they have 49 students from all over the world. That certainly sounds like they're preparing something.
But here's the German president, Joachim Gauck, that was the president of Germany, said that it was very important for the school to be in his country because of the history. He said, "In Germany of all places, where the Jewish intelligentsia had been such a large and irreplaceable share in the intellectual prestige of German academia, was expelled and murdered, Jewish theology is finally being given its proper role."
That's interesting.
But now it's going to get even more interesting.
Because?
Because of the wonderful things he does.
It's programming, Brown. Merger.
Yeah, sorry about that. Well, you're from Seattle.
Yeah, but I'm not programmed.
Emerald City. Anyway, guess who visited Israel last week?
I can read your notes.
All right. You're not reading the script. It was the German Chancellor, Angela Merkel, and her entire cabinet.
Wow.
Wow is right. And she visited and spoke to the Israeli government with Benjamin Netanyahu. And it's also said here that Germany is Israel's most important ally in Europe. The German Chancellor visited Jerusalem with her cabinet to mark 50 years of bilateral ties with Israel, which was founded in part as a haven for survivors of the Holocaust. Not founded in part, that was the reason, okay? And she says, "We see the threat not just as a threat to the state of Israel," talk about Iran, of Israel, but to Europe as well. And both Netanyahu and Merkel spoke out against the EU's boycott of the Israeli products made by Palestinians and that kind of thing. And I don't have the picture here, but many of you have seen online when Angela Merkel was standing next to Netanyahu and the cameras and lights were on, and he pointed, and the shadow made a Hitler mustache across her lips. Hilarious.
Yes, but remember, for those who might have forgotten, that of course the rumor is that she's his daughter, Hitler's daughter.
Yes. And I have a picture somewhere on my computer of Hitler and Angela next to each other. You can't tell the difference. Yeah. So that's all I got.
That's it. Okay, well, I'll just follow that with my Nazi story, because it's just briefly, I was just reading on the internet that they actually had a school for Nazi brides. So they could train the women. The women had to pass certain genetic tests.
I think my ex-wife was in that school.
They had to pass certain genetic tests, that they had no Jewish ancestry, and that they basically were Aryan. And if they passed the test, then they were allowed to enter into this very elite school.
Where was this?
This was in Germany.
They allowed this? Because Nazism is illegal in Germany.
No, not now. Back in Hitler's
time. Oh, you didn't tell me that.
Yes, I did.
Oh, for goodness sake.
Not now.
Well, never mind. Go on.
No. So anyway, so it was a very elite school for these women to go through, and in these schools they were trained how to be good wives, how to cook and clean and sew, and how to press their husband's uniforms, those kind of things. But most importantly, how to raise their children to love the Fuhrer and to be a part of the Nazi Germany regime. So it was very interesting, this little article. And actually it was a pretty lengthy article. And again, they're saying, oh, they found this document that was hidden and now they're bringing it up. So, you know, again, we never know these kind of documents, if they really exist, or if they're...
Oh my God, it's snowing again. Sorry about that. Go on.
It is snowing.
It's going pretty good, too.
Yeah. Anyway, so we don't know if they bring it up to change history, or if these things really happened. But regardless, it's pretty fascinating. So they, again, you know, always news stories, you know, the Nazis are always in the news, they're not going away, never have gone away.
Yeah.
And then, So off of that topic, onto one a bit more serious.
Oh.
If you get more serious than that. I was curious your opinion, because I wrote this one down, about the Chinese authorities that say that there was a knife-wielding terror gang,
Yes.
which left at least, again, here's our numbers, 33 dead, and 143, which is an 8, wounded after attacking a train station
In Western
in
China.
China.
It was Western China.
Yes, so I was curious if you could give us your take on that.
Well, again, that's something I've been saying, a long time, because Western China, or was in Xinjiang province, is a majority of Persian Islamic people. And in fact, many of the former Soviet republics that were part of that group are smuggling weapons in to fight the Chinese. Because what's happened is the Muslims there were the majority, and the Chinese, of course, cannot accept other nationalities or religions as a majority. So they ship Han Chinese ethnic people from the eastern part of China into the other parts of China, Tibet, Xinjiang province, so that they become more majority. And so a lot of these so-called terrorists are just the local Islamic people attacking the what they consider to be Chinese invaders of their territory.
I see. Well, anyway, I just found that very interesting because obviously people were very frightened over such things, such kind of attacks. They said just people ran through attacking at random. Now, did they, or did they just want to make it look like it was a
Well, China would like to, it's interesting you mentioned that, because there was recently a news journalist in Hong Kong who wrote a very scathing article about Chinese rule in Hong Kong, and he was attacked in a parking lot with a knife-wielding person. But fortunately, he survived, but not well. He may be dying. And there was another journalist who was attacked. Right. So when you put all these things together, it could be that China is, setting this up and blaming terrorists and that kind of thing.
Yeah. So anyway, a lot of that kind of stuff obviously going on in the news these days. So I have a couple of things that are slightly amusing.
Are they about sex?
Could be.
Ugh.
So a couple of things, because I have been telling people how that the next trend is going to be bestiality. People having sex with animals. And not too long ago I was flipping through the news on the internet, and there's a girl, a young woman I guess, that said that she was looking through her boyfriend's phone and she found a picture of him having sex with her dog.
Ah, maybe it was her ugly girlfriend.
That could be.
That could be.
But anyway,
I've
so
seen
she
some
had
dogs.
him.
I thought they were, ugly girlfriends.
Yeah. So anyway, so she had him arrested, I guess. So
that's against. I guess it's against the law. It's in the South, I guess.
Well, it's supposed to be against the law everywhere except in the military, which I did report on that.
Oh yeah, in the military you could have sex with animals.
Yes, it's not illegal anymore. But the thing that's, remember how we talked about how they open frequencies to get you used to certain things. So first, it's terrible, and the next thing you know, everybody's doing it. Well, almost every week now. First it was like, say, once a quarter and once a month, and now it's like every week I'm hearing on the news about people having sex with animals. So there was...
Did it say what kind of a dog it was?
No, they did not show the dog's picture.
No.
I think that was to protect its identity.
Probably.
Because they usually do that in rape charges.
But she must be pretty bad at sex if he had to sleep with her dog.
Well, I don't know what that end of the story is.
That's pretty sad for her, actually.
Well, it's sad in a lot of ways. But now in New York, Herkimer County, there was a farmer who says he couldn't figure out why his cows seemed more anxious than usual. Which, again, that's weird. It's just a weird story. I don't know.
Well, if a cow's watching cow news and sees these kind of stories, they get nervous.
Well, how many cows did he have? Did he have 100 cows? Did he have 2 cows? It doesn't make sense.
Were they cows or just big fat old ladies?
Well, it says here they're cows.
Okay.
It says that they weren't producing as much milk as usual, so he set up a surveillance camera. I was a dairy farmer.
I know.
And, if your cows are anxious, there are a lot of reasons why. You don't just decide to set up a surveillance camera.
So did you counsel them?
So I'm telling you again, this might not be a real story, but was out there all over the news. And it said that 2 men, of course I always give their names and where they're from, their ages, 31 and 32. They were accused of sexually abusing the cows.
They must be pretty ugly too.
Well, the point being is, again, I just think they're trying to make people think, because what happens next, people start trying these things. Hey, there's a cow next door, or a horse.
Why would you even think of wanting to do that with an animal?
Well, I'm going to tell you why, and I write about this all the time on my blogs. It has to do with the animal mind that runs people and that they're tying people into.
Animal alters too.
Yes, all of that. Remember, I've been telling you about the full-headed mask that they're using. They
Like
have,
the one you gave me?
Yes. And the shoes, you know, that they actually take the hoofs of the animals and turn them into shoes. I've reported on that. I reported on the bronies in the tail.
Yeah, you've done a lot of stuff.
I have, and the point being is I still honestly believe that they're going to make it so people can volunteer to be genetically modified as animals, because that's going to bring out their animal mind, plus it's going to create a different kind of a human type warrior as we go along. So there's a lot of stuff going on here, but my feeling is the reason that this now is in the news, whether it's real or not, because yes, monkey see, monkey do. You know, it's the Miley Cyrus twerking thing, which was totally disgusting. Whatever said, oh, that's so disgusting. But it opened up the frequency, and now everybody's doing that kind of stuff. Not you and I, of course, but it's out there, and that's what this stuff opens people up for.
Things.
Yes, we don't talk about it. Well, the next one is along the same line that you might be interested in.
Really?
Yes, this is, again, why does this make the news, mainstream news?
No, the bad question is, why do you find it?
Well, because this is, I want people to be alert to why this stuff is out there. This one is a teen explaining why he had sex with a Hot Pocket.
Oh, that is a really sick person.
Well,
Talk about loving your food.
Yeah, well, he said that he thought that it would be interesting
Yeah, I bet.
on his Twitter account. But he found the Hot Pocket was too hot, so therefore he had to use a condom. I mean, why does this make the news? It's a whole story.
Oh my God, what if the Hot Pocket got pregnant?
Yeah. Well, you know, masturbation is becoming something that is, again, publicly acceptable. I've reported about certain beaches that they can do that on around the world.
Talk about going out with a hottie.
Yeah, well, anyway, all of this stuff is becoming more and more publicly acceptable. And,
Go on.
okay, that's the sex stories.
That's it?
For this one.
Hot Pocket sex?
Hot Pocket sex. We're going to go on to your next favorite subject. You know which one that is? Yes.
Sushi?
Oh. Poop.
Poop.
No, this is more poop stuff. Because again, there are reasons why they do these things. It says that the city of Naples, Italy is implementing a plan to take DNA tests from dog poop to catch people who don't pick up after their pets. I mean, like,
how is that going to work?
well, this is my point. Why in the world would you even want to do this? Dog poop is not that important.
So they're going to match it with the dog's DNA, not the owner's
Well,
DNA.
and then they'll find the owner, and they'll have up to 500 euros a fine if it's your dog's poop. But you know, who's going to be the dog poop patrol? How long does that take to monitor?
But who's going to
it?
be the one to test the dog poop DNA?
Well,
Whose job is
what
that?
they're saying to start with is, first of all, they have to register their dogs. They have to have cheek swabs taken.
Ooh, which cheeks?
From the dog.
Oh, no, you know what I meant.
Yes. Did you know what I meant?
No,
So this
that's
is
fine.
how they collect their DNA samples. Then, when they find the poop. I mean, to me, this is just so ridiculous. I mean, just get a dog poop collector. It's a lot cheaper than this, right? So my point is, they have to be doing this for a reason. You know, you just have to figure out the reason. But get this, it says this high-tech tactic. I don't call it high-tech. I call it a waste of time and money. But it says this high-tech tactic isn't only being used in Italy. It has already spread to places like Israel, Canada, and in communities and apartment complexes in 43 states across the U.S.
In the U.S.?
That's what they said. I just can't think of a more ridiculous waste of time and energy. So anyway, that's one poop story. The next poop story, the reason I'm bringing this one up is because last year they actually introduced brew last year from a Japanese brewery that was elephant dung beer. And they introduced it on April Fool's Day, and it sold out since. So
and
since
it was really made from elephant dung?
you know they do that with coffee, going through. I can't think of the name of that cat that. I'm not sure if it's serval, but they eat it and it passes through. They collect the beans.
Oh yeah, I've heard about
that one. Well, they actually then they did that with elephants, and they collected from the elephant
Whose
feces.
job? You know, who wants that job? Oh, I have to get up today because I got to collect some elephant poop.
Who wants to eat it or drink it? I mean, talk about how low can you...
I have to get some elephant poop and make coffee.
Yeah, how low can you go? So anyway, I thought, well, that was an interesting story too, as long as we're talking about poop. But it's just like, why? Because it's taking people into their animal minds. Okay.
That's not where it's going. Yes. The other end.
Well, your animal mind runs the physical body. So it's not elevating people, it's bringing them down lower. And that's the point. Okay, then the next story, I have actually kind of two that are related. And one of them, now this was interesting, there is a woman from California, Blondie Bennett. She had her name changed legally to Blondie, who has spent more than $25,000 on, or 25,000 pounds. I don't know what that translates.
Well, that would be close to 40 grand US.
On breast enhancements to make herself look like a plastic sex doll. Because she wants to look like a plastic sex doll, and she's going another step farther.
So she could have sex with mannequins.
No. Oh, actually, just in case anybody wants to know, she has 5 breast enlargements to make her to a size 32 JJ, which
That's
I
like
have. I have no clue how big that means, but I mean that must be like out to here.
I have no clue.
That's kind of like you need a wheelbarrow for.
Barbie doesn't have breasts like that.
No, according to this thing. Anyway. So not only did she have breast enhancements, but she is going through hypnotherapy to train her to be more easily confused and vacant.
I think she already got there.
And she claims that it's working because she recently got lost for 3 hours while she
in her house.
While she was driving to her mother's. But the point again is, you know, why? And not only that, but what kind of legitimate hypnotherapist or person of any kind would do this to a person to make them confused and vacant.
The word comes up, programmer.
Yes. Yes. And now, again, people are voluntarily doing this. And then I'll let you read your Russian name, Valeria
Lukyanova.
Okay. She's a human Barbie, which a lot of, this is...
I thought the other one was a...
Well, there are a lot of them.
She was a Blondie.
Well, her name is Blondie now, but she wanted to be a brainless Barbie.
She got there.
She got there.
Lucky her.
So this woman, who calls herself a human Barbie, admitted that she hadn't eaten a single thing in several weeks and calls herself a breatharian. Because she said you can get your nutrition from the sun.
I think she's an airhead-arian.
And so she's going to see how far she can go, I guess, before she dies. I don't know.
Well, the role will have a great loss.
But it all has to do with programming and, again, putting it out there and people copy this stuff.
They should meet each other, this human Barbie and the Blondie. They should get together.
They have issues. So anyway, I thought that was interesting. Then the other thing I was thinking, because as you know, I recently came back from seeing my mom and I was flying, and at the airport, there was a sign, and I was looking at this sign. It says, if you see anything suspicious, be sure to report it to authorities. And I was
thinking, always there.
Right, but the thing is, it's a way of emanating fear. Because before, you just went to the airport and you got in your plane and left. Now you're looking for people who are suspicious.
I'm always looking for people suspicious. But then it always winds up being me.
Well, that's true too. But the issue is this is the way they set up people. They condition you for fear. You can't just go someplace and be someplace. You always have to be watching over your shoulder. You have to be fearful. So I thought that was something that people need to be mindful of is fear feeds fear and creates these situations. So we want to work about being peaceful and calm in all situations, being connected to your source.
Maybe that's why we should get that psychiatrist's name to make ourselves confused and dizzy and just nothing will bother us.
Well, maybe
that's actually a good idea.
Well, but we want to get back to the point at hand. And that is not to be fearful, because that's my point. Through all these stories we're talking about, and this, I want to take this back for just a second to the Aradia couple, because they're telling us not to be fearful of Fukushima. Now we have a very good friend who's been doing a lot of research, and he's telling us that maybe, and from his research is showing a lot of these incidences have been set up to create fear in people, including Hiroshima. So,
and Nagasaki.
All of that. So we're looking at many different aspects of history to continue to determine what is true and what is false. So levels of discernment are extremely important right now, more so than ever, because you truly are being tested. You must be clear-headed. You must do your work. And join us on our blogs, on our membership side. We do a lot of work over there. And we have really great membership, I have to say. And speaking of which, are you done with your news stories? We'll tell them our upcoming events.
Yeah, that's all right.
Okay, so here in just a little less than 2 weeks, actually, we will be speaking at the Meta Center in New York City.
As long as the airports are open.
Yeah, unless we're snowed in, we will be there. And then we will have a couple of days following that with personal consultations. So you want to be sure and get on that list if that you want the personal consultations. It always fills up fast.
Yes, and it is a Hot Pocket optional.
For you, not me.
Yes.
Okay, so then we have our conference, our Spring Healing Conference coming up in April, Finding Your Frequency. That should be a really great one. We do something different every year.
Yeah, maybe we could bring some elephant poop in.
Well, if you want to, you may. And then we're going to be talking about finding your place within your Oversoul Matrix, within the God-Mind frequency. We're going to be looking at animal, insect, mineral. And I think we should also look at radiation. Seriously. Because Radia couple says it's a living organism. So I think we should also put that in there as well and have the class help us.
We can even help irradiate the class too.
Well, we can have them help us
Bring
with
a microwave.
We can help us with our research because I think we would like to hear what you have to say as well. Hopefully you're reading and considering all these options. Then, in Japan? What are your Japan dates?
I'll be there May 6th to 14th.
Okay, so doing a lot of interesting investigation there as well as seminar and personal consultation. So
And on the trail to Emmanuel's legacy.
Yeah, so we have lots of things that will be coming out of that
And what
conference
about
as well.
this?
That I don't know, so let's wait.
I want to say it.
You can say it, but I don't know what's going to
Because the
happen.
Montauk movie should be out very soon.
No.
It has to be.
Until it's out, we really can't announce it because...
It has to be out so I can get my nomination.
Yeah, well...
Before April.
When the time is correct. You have to
get ready. Because they nominate in April.
You have to be ready. You have to do all your... Finish up the beauty treatments, inside and out.
Do I still have to use the crocodile poop on my face?
No, we're going to switch to the elephant tongue.
No,
Give
you
a
drink
little
that.
Well, it'll help you shape your nose a little better.
Oh, well... Okay.
Or other body parts.
Yes.
I was reading your mind.
Yes.
Yes, okay, so I said it for you.
Say.
I know, I said it for you, so hopefully it makes you happy.
Yeah, that makes me very
That's why I didn't quote this from the whole thing.
I want you to read that.
No, I'm not.
I want you to read that.
I'm not reading that one. I'm done.
It was an obscene,
No, I'm not.
obscene
Don't
line
you can't even say it.
from the teenager
They
who...
will probably, to remove
Use
us,
that.
they will remove us from YouTube.
It's on the news.
I know, but it's in writing, we're not saying it. So somebody will report us and they'll remove us, so we can't do that. So, with that said.
With that said, I guess we'll see him next week.
Well, we're going to see them we'll see them one more time before we see them in New York.
Right.
Unless you're on our membership log, then we see you every day. And you're the lucky ones.
Yeah.
You're the smart ones who have memberships on our site.
Yeah, and maybe I'll have a little surprise for them on the video one day.
And maybe
Yeah.
I won't be here then.
Yeah. Well, anyway, hope you enjoyed the podcast, and we will see you next time.
And stay calm, stay courageous, and do not be fearful.
And please, don't use Hot Pockets like that. Thank you.
No. Don't even eat them.
No.
Nasty stuff.
Nor cows, please.
No.
Bye.
Bye.